Sound check 1 2, testing 1 2. We are live over here. Live here. Number 2, live. Live here, here, and here. We are on. Yes, it's on. Yes. Okay. I'm on. We're on over here. Good morning, everybody. Let me tell you what I'm going to do today. I think on 6 of these platforms, y'all can see the topic. On TikTok, y'all can't see the topic. Those of y'all watching on TikTok, I'm waiting for TikTok to populate. Those of you who are watching on TikTok, Jeff Moffitt, good morning, sir. Happy Merry Christmas to you and happy holidays to you as well. Those of you who are on TikTok, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do today. You know what I'm going to do today? Today I'm going to defend P Diddy, or as many of you call him P Diddy. I call him Puff Daddy. I knew about him. I knew about Puff Daddy from back in the 90s. So I'm going to call him Puff Daddy. I may call him Puff Daddy and P Diddy. I may just say both names while I'm talking here today because I want to make sure everybody knows who I'm talking about. Those of you who are watching on Instagram, the audio is still not exactly where I want it to be because I lost a little adapter that makes my mic work. But looking on the Amazon website is arriving today by 10 o'clock. So I'll have it by tomorrow. So I had to order the piece again. It's like the third time I had to order that thing because when that little piece of it breaks or you lose it, then you pretty much can't use the microphone and there's no replacement for it. And then you got to buy the whole mic all over again. So here's what we're going to do today. All right, everybody got the topic. I'm going to defend Puff Daddy. I'm going to defend P Diddy. Right now, he is, the last that we heard, he is incarcerated. He is being held in, I believe, a Brooklyn detention center under a charge. He has been charged with a crime. He is suspected of a crime. He has not gone to trial yet. We don't know if he's even going to go to trial, but that's the situation. And a whole bunch of people are basically shitting on P Diddy and his name right now. I'm going to explain. I'm going to go through where this came from, why it happened, how it happened. And I'm going to, at least for now, I'm going to defend P Diddy because it seems like nobody's really defending this guy right now. Nobody's defending Puff Daddy right now. I'm going to defend Puff Daddy, not because I have any personal affiliation with Puff Daddy. I mean, aside from listening to his music and being a fan of the music he's put out, I'll still be a fan whether he gets found innocent or guilty because the music has nothing to do with who he is as a person. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. I can still like his music regardless. The same way I could like R. Kelly's music. And the same way you could think America's bad, but you still will stand up for the national anthem. So that's what we're going to do here today. And I got many points here. I don't even need to give too much background because I'm going to step on my points. Let me just introduce myself. For those who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day, former 9-year pro athlete, author of 35 books, done 4 TEDx talks. I created this brand called Work on Your Game. You see that title right there, Work on Your Game. That's the name of my company, also titled one of my books. What we do here is we work with professionals, entrepreneurs, transitioning business people, sales teams, and ambitious people who are looking to take the same stuff that helps athletes get to the top of that game and use those same things in the business world. So mindset, strategy, systems, accountability, implementation, those are the things that I coach people on and work with people on. You can learn more about that at workonyourgameuniversity.com. But that's neither here nor there. Let's get into the subject that we need to talk about here today, which is Puff Daddy or P Diddy. Now, as I already told you, I'm a fan of Puff Daddy, the music guy. I'm a fan of Puff Daddy, the entertainer. I'm a fan of him, the producer, all the things that he's done over the years. And I will continue to be a fan of his. And just like I said a week ago when I talked about the Jay-Z situation, this is, of course, we know this is just an allegation. Well, but Jay-Z was just an allegation. It wasn't even a criminal charge. Puff Daddy has a more serious charge because he's dealing with a criminal charge where he has to deal with the state, whereas Jay-Z was just dealing with a lawyer who was claiming that he had a civil charge from many years ago, but it looks like that whole situation is falling apart. And don't know Puff Daddy personally, never met the man, at least I don't remember if I did. And my opinion position on him, what I'm going to share here today, has nothing to do with my personal feelings towards his music, because again, as I just told you, I don't know him personally. So first thing we got to establish, first things first, as usual, is innocent until proven guilty. All right, innocent until proven guilty. Puff Daddy is innocent until or unless the court of law brings him into a court, he gets a fair trial in front of a jury of his peers, and they would have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he has committed a crime or crimes, plural. They have to prove it. If they have not yet proven it, then we can't condemn this guy. Now, we know that people don't generally think like this. Most people don't think this logically and rationally. Most people will jump to a conclusion, especially based on who the person is. If you like the person, then you tend to defend them no matter what the court says. And if you dislike the person, you tend to condemn them no matter what the court says. We know that this is how people are going to be with Puff Daddy, but I want to bring some rationality and objectivity to this conversation and make sure all of you remember that every person is innocent until they are proven to be guilty. You must prove that someone has committed a crime if you're going to say they committed a crime. You want to say they're a bad person or they've done something wrong, you have to prove it. You cannot just claim it or assert it. It has to actually be proven. And Puff Daddy has not yet had his day in court, as everyone in the United States of America, at least, is entitled to. And there are many situations where people have not gotten those days in court, but they've been condemned anyway. We're going to talk about some of those people moving forward. I've already told you all that. What's that, about 2 weeks from now on January 6th, I'm going to do a live about January 6th from 2021, not 2025, but it's going to be in 2025. I'm going to talk about that too. And that one's going to be pretty extensive, I would guess. So this applies to everybody, even people who you don't like, that they're innocent until proven guilty. Even if you personally don't like them, we still have to call them innocent until proven guilty. All right, everybody got it. Now, here's the thing that I see with Puff Daddy. All right, this guy has been very publicly noted for his success for what is 2020, almost 2025. So let's say 25, almost 30 years. It's been 30 years that this guy has been publicly noted for being successful, and not just publicly noted for his success in a, let's just, for lack of a better term, let's just call it a humble way. We can agree that this guy is not super humble with the way he has flouted and flaunted his success. He brought in the whole shiny suit era. Those of you old enough to remember when they started making music that wasn't just about being in the streets and being a gangster or a thug. They started making music about, well, here's how much money we have. We go to the clubs, we buy bottles of champagne, we got all the girls around us, and look at all this beautiful jewelry we got, and these nice houses and these luxury cars we drive. Puff Daddy has been this guy for 30 years, just showing you what he has and basically taking the hustler ethos from the streets and applying it to the business world. He's even said this out of his own mouth. He's been talking about this for years, because those his background know that his father was murdered when he was a child, maybe 2 or 3 years of age, but his father was a street guy. His father was in the streets, and a lot of the hustlers back in that era, in the 80s and the 90s, once they started making a lot of money, they would be very showy. They would show off all the stuff that they had. So he basically took that hustler thing and he started applying it to the music game, and no one had done that before him. No one had done it, not in the way that he was doing it, which is make a whole bunch of money, show you how much money I have, rap about how much money I have, and build his whole brand around that. Let me just show you what I got. Instead of telling you how tough he was or how he'll kill you or shoot you or how he used to sell drugs, he didn't do any of that. He just said, I got all this stuff. Look at all this stuff. Don't you want to be like me? And this was super popular. Again, those of you who are around in the 90s, y'all remember. I'm not talking about Puff Daddy of the last, let's say, 10 years when he was out, but wasn't as popular as it used to be. I'm talking about Puff Daddy in the 90s from about 1990. Let's see. Notorious B.I.G. came out in what, 93? So from about 1993 through, let's just say, 1999, Puff Daddy was the guy. I would argue, and those of you can tell me what you think, I would argue that in that era from 93 to 1999, he was the most popular guy in hip hop. Now, of course, you had other people who popped up and had their little runs. You had Jay-Z had a period when he was the guy. DMX had a period. Of course, you had Notorious B.I.G. who got murdered. You got Tupac who got murdered. But during that whole period from 93 to about 99, I would say that Puff Daddy was the most popular guy because Notorious B.I.G. was obviously his artist. And the whole Tupac, big East Coast, West Coast thing, Puff Daddy was in the middle of that. And Puff Daddy was in New York. New York was the mecca of where hip hop was happening in that era. And he was the guy. He was the biggest guy. I'm saying all that to say this, that when you are that person for this long and that publicly, eventually you are going to draw a whole bunch of people who want to see you fall, a whole bunch of people who want to see you fail, people who want to assassinate your character, people who want to see you come down, people who want to see you not on top anymore. I think people have been waiting for this for a long time. And him being the guy is only one reason. There are many other reasons that go with it. And I'm going to take all questions and comments at the end, by the way. And I see a comment over there while I'm glancing. Queen KOLD said he was never the guy. He absolutely was. Who was the guy if it wasn't him? He was the guy. And in the 90s, he was the guy, especially after Notorious B.I.G. died. Puff Daddy put out an album that sold 10 million copies. How you going to say he wasn't the guy? Who was the guy? If it wasn't him, who was it? So anyway, on top of this, many artists who did business with Puff, who also had their own fans, many of them have come out against him, not about this allegation, but just about him, period, and his business practices. So if we just were to name a few, you had Mace, who came out and said, hey, he didn't get everything he was supposed to get with Puff. You had Faith Evans, who says she had to go to war with Puff in order to get her publishing back. You had the rap R&B group 112, who said they had to go to war with him to get their stuff. You had the Locks, who wanted to leave Bad Boy after Notorious B.I.G.'s passing. You had many other artists. You had G-Dep, you had Black Rob, you had a whole bunch of artists who worked with Puff who for whatever reason all ended up at odds with him at some point or another. Maybe they got cool with him again later, but many of them ended up at odds with him. And each one of those artists has their own fans. And when all of those artists have their own fans, some of those artists' fans, then they decide they don't like Puff. And then when they look around, they see, well, look at all these other people, all with the same problems. Well, then people just come to this conclusion that this guy may just be a bad person. Maybe this guy is just not a very good person. And then you have other artists like, let's say, 50 Cent, who we know 50 Cent trolls people on the internet, but he's been trolling Puff Daddy for many years. So there are many people who've just been waiting to see this guy fall. And now that he has this charge against him, now people are saying, well, now here's something solid to go with your belief or your desire, let's just put it for lack of a better term, in your mind that this guy should fall. So let me go to the next point, because I'm going to answer questions at the end. So any of you got a question or comment, I will address it at the end. So the incident that we all know about, because everything that we got right now is just an allegation, is just a court charge. The incident we know about was the video of him with his ex-girlfriend, of him beating her in a hotel, I believe, which was in Los Angeles, Beverly Hills. And you see the girl running out of running to the elevator bay. So she's going to where the elevators are and waiting for the elevator to come. Puff Daddy comes stalking behind her and starts physically beating her, and it's all on camera. Nobody can deny that. That is not even what he is being charged with. He's being charged with some sexual allegations that may deal with underage children. That's what he's being charged with. The incident in the hotel is the thing that we know about. But again, that's not even part of the court case. The problem for Puff Daddy is that in a court of public opinion, that video is condemning him. That video has basically convicted him in the court of public opinion, because that's a man who has been well known for being powerful, well known for flaunting his status and reputation. And there is a woman who is physically helpless against him. He's physically beating her. And everybody knows that he was together with that woman for a long time. She broke up with him, files a lawsuit, gets with another guy, gets married. I believe she had a kid quickly as soon as she got out of being with him. And this really makes him look bad. If Puff Daddy was asking me what I think about the situation, I would tell him everything I told you so far. And I would say that video that got leaked out of you beating that girl in the hotel, and everybody knows that's your girl. It's not just you beating up some random girl. That's your girl, and you were with her for 10 years, and you beat her like that, and it's all on camera. you can't talk your way out of that. And some of you, if you follow Puff, then you saw, or you follow the story, then you saw the video that he put out. After that video came out, he put out a video and said, hey, it's unacceptable. I had to go get some help, et cetera, et cetera. And we all know that when someone gets outed like that publicly, they come out with an apology video. And most people don't buy the apology because we all know that you're doing it for PR purposes. Now, that doesn't mean that he's not sorry. Doesn't mean that he doesn't have real contrition. But the fact that he put it out after he had claimed all these claims against me are false. Everybody claiming things that I did wrong, et cetera, et cetera. They're all false. They're all nonsense. They're all just trying to assassinate my character. Because if y'all know the timeline of the story, what happened was his ex-girlfriend, she filed a lawsuit against him. She filed the lawsuit against him for, like, I believe the number was $30 million. Who knows what they actually settled on. But she filed a lawsuit against him. And when you file a lawsuit, all the details of a lawsuit are public. So when she put the lawsuit out, a bunch of internet sleuths went through the lawsuit line by line and were looking at everything that was being alleged against him. And many of the things were, well, he was trafficking young women. He would make me, the girlfriend, he would make me participate in this stuff with other men, participate with other women. He was having all kinds of wild sex parties and all these things he was doing. He was physically abusive. He was mentally abusive. He was financially abusive. He was emotionally abusive. And he would do random rampant drug use and all this stuff. There was a lot of things that were in that lawsuit that just made him look bad, even though they were just allegations. Because again, a lawsuit is just a lawsuit. I could file a lawsuit against you tomorrow and say all the same things that she said about Puff Daddy. Doesn't mean the lawsuit is going to go through. Doesn't mean I'm going to win. Doesn't mean we even go to trial. Just because someone files a lawsuit does not prove anything. But when she put that lawsuit out there and people started looking through it, what it does is it sits in your mind. So if someone was to file a lawsuit against you and you're a public person and they're saying a bunch of really nasty things about you or claiming a whole bunch of things that they say that you did, now that's all on your name. And now you got to work to clear your name. And if there are people out there who already don't like you for whatever reason, now that's just adding fuel to the fire. So all this was all bad for Puff Daddy. What I believe happened, I heard a couple other people say this, and here's what I believe happened. I believe that when Puff Daddy and his ex-girlfriend broke up, I believe that she came to him and said, look, all right, we were together for 10 years and you did this. I'm talking things that she would say to him privately. All right, you did all these things that I wasn't with, but you had me doing them and I went along with it because I was with you. But, I'm not with you anymore. I'm with this other guy. I'm going to marry him and have kids with him and build a family with him. I'm not with you anymore. I need you to pay me some restitution for what you put me through for this 10 years. You got the money. You're always talking about money. You've been talking about money for 30 years. All right, pay me off. I'll go away. I'll never talk about this again. I'll sign a non-disclosure and it'll just stay between me and you and we'll never have to talk about it. That's what I believe. This is a theory. I believe that she came to him and said that. Now, maybe she didn't say it. Maybe her lawyer said it, but you get my point. That she came to him and made him that offer. What I believe happened is that he said no. I believe that he said because he's a person of power and status, and he had power and status and authority over her for 10 years, she got away. She was another man now. I believe he just said, well, bitch, fuck you. All right, no, I'm not giving you anything. Go with your other man. You don't want to be with me anymore. You ain't going to be shit without me. I don't need you. You don't want to be with me anymore. You go and do whatever you want to do. I ain't paying you shit. Get the fuck out of here. All right, go with your man. That's what I believe. JBJ, what's going on? Good morning. Merry Christmas. I believe that's what happened. Again, just my theory. I'm not stating this as fact. I'm not reporting this. Then because he said that, because he told her, go pound sand, she decided, okay, I'm gonna get with my lawyer and now I'm gonna file a lawsuit against you. And when she understood the game and she played this game very well, I would have to say that his ex-girlfriend played this game very well. Again, based on my theory here, is that she realized that if I put this lawsuit out and all this negative stuff about him, then the court of public opinion is going to make him look bad. And with the court of public opinion already making him look bad, and maybe, just maybe, here's another piece of my theory, this is another branch of my theory, is that we can get access to that video because obviously she knows what happened in that hotel when she got beat. I mean, she was there. She was the one getting beat. So I believe that she may have had a plug at that hotel who had the security footage who said, hey, I can get that security footage leaked to the internet for you. Combine that with the lawsuit coming out. Now he's going to have no choice but to capitulate because he can't lie anymore. I think this was all calculated. Now, who knows? Maybe I'm giving his ex-girlfriend and her legal team a little bit too much credit, but I believe this is what happened. So she comes out with the lawsuit, okay, following my theory, comes out with this lawsuit, and there's all these terrible things about him. He came out with a statement. Puff Daddy comes out with a statement and says, same thing every famous person says when a lawsuit gets filed against them that claims negative things. He says, well, they're just trying to assassinate my character. They're just trying to make me look bad. I've been successful for a long time. Look at my track record of positive things. They're just trying to get money out of me. My name will be cleared. I will be exonerated, et cetera. So everybody who gets a lawsuit filed against him says the same thing. So all he did was copy the template, say the same thing that everybody says when a lawsuit is filed against him. Now, most people looked at it and said, okay, well, some negative things in a lawsuit, but who knows? All right, they can't prove it. There's no footage. We don't know. They're just trying to get money out of him. He gets sued all the time. And that it wouldn't be anything wrong with having that thought. When I first saw the lawsuit, I said, okay, some of these things, who knows, probably some of them were true, but how will we ever really know? We'll never really know. Then not too long after that, the video comes out. The video of him beating his girlfriend in the hotel. See, you can't lie about a video. That's the thing about video, or at least as of today. Let me correct myself. As of today, you can't lie with video, but I believe within the next 5 years, you will be able to lie with video because AI is going to allow you to make video of shit that didn't even happen, and you can put it out as if it did happen. Actually, you could do that already, but it's not so ubiquitous that everybody has access to it right now for a cheap price. But I believe in the future is going to be accessible. Same way you could filter a photo for Instagram. You're going to be able to make a fake video of any person you want doing something that they didn't actually do. You can put it out on the internet. That's coming very soon. But as of today, the video, usually when we're looking at video, often is something that did actually happen. So when that video came out of him beating his girl, he couldn't lie about that one. Combine that with the lawsuit. Now you look really bad. Now you can't come out with another statement from your publicist or your lawyer saying, well, she's just trying to get money out of me. She's just trying to extort me. She's just trying to use me. She's just trying to make my name look bad. So you were with her for 10 years. Everybody knew it. It was a public relationship. She files a lawsuit. You said she's just trying to get money out of me. Then the video comes out of you beating her ass in a hotel. Well, now he's backed into a corner. Now, Puff, I guess this is all part of my theory. I believe he gets a call from his lawyer and his lawyer says, Mr. Diddy, you might want to settle this lawsuit. You don't want to go to court with this one because not only is that video going to make you look horrible, but also in the court of public opinion, it's not even about the lawsuit. Because let's say he loses the lawsuit, he has to pay some money. All right, according to the stuff that Puff Daddy's been rapping about for 3 decades, he got the money to pay the lawsuit. So it's not about the money because again, this is not a criminal case. It's just money. He can pay the money. The issue is Puff Daddy's brand. His whole business is based around his brand of him being this certain type of guy. He's a business mogul. He's a media mogul. He's a music guy. He has all these business relationships, connections, et cetera, et cetera. If he was to continue to fight after that video came out, well, first of all, he's going to lose all his connections, all the connections that allows him to make the money that he makes. He can't do business with these people anymore. All right, can you go do a business deal with who's the company he might do a business deal with? Like Puff Daddy couldn't go do a business deal with Target after that video comes out, because if Target announces, hey, we're going to do a business deal with Puff Daddy, well, what is a bunch of people going to do? They're going to come out and say, hey, Target, how you going to do a business deal with this guy who beats women? You can't do that. That deal's done. He can't come out and say, I'm going to do a business deal with Facebook, because Facebook's going to come out. People are going to go to Facebook and say, how are you going to do a business deal with this guy who beats women? It's on video. Again, it's one thing to be alleged and have somebody say that you did something. It's a whole other thing when it's on video and you can't lie and you can't deny it. That's the problem. It would hurt his entire business empire would crumble if, well, first of all, it already started to crumble because the video came out. But had he continued to try to fight that lawsuit, it would have been worse. Had the video not come out, I don't think he would have settled that lawsuit. Now, let me tell you how all this connects. If the video didn't come out, he could have just kept saying, well, somebody's just trying to extort me for money. All right, this is the 97th time that I've been sued since 1995. Everybody tries to sue me and tries to get money out of me. I'm not going to let it happen. Same thing Jay-Z said. He could have did it, but the video put him in a position where he couldn't do it, specifically because the same person who sued him is the same person whose ass he's beaten in the video. And he's a man and she's a woman. And again, he's a guy who's built his whole brand around how powerful and connected and rich I am. And this woman, I mean, it just doesn't look, this just looks horrible. Again, if I'm Puff Daddy's advisor, I say, dude, you got to pay that lawsuit off, make this go away as quickly as possible. You can't win. All right, you can't win the public opinion. You're probably not going to win in court either. And he didn't want to go to court to have to actually testify under oath about all the things that were in that lawsuit, because if you get caught lying under oath, well, you go to jail too. So again, he was in a no-win situation. I think the biggest mistake Puff Daddy made in this whole situation was, again, this is just my theory. I am not reporting that this actually happened. Just my theory that his ex-girlfriend came to him after they broke up and she said, just pay me off for the 10 years that I did with you. Just write me a check. I won't say anything. I'll sign a non-disclosure, write me a check, and I'll go to my new man and I'll never talk about this again. And I believe she came to him with that proposal, and I believe he said no. And when that happened, that set off everything else that came after that. Then the video came out, then the lawsuit came out, then he paid off the lawsuit. Now, here's the next piece that put him in a tough situation. That lawsuit, here's the thing you're going to understand about law enforcement in the United States. If y'all didn't know this, you should know this. Law enforcement uses any and every resource and option available to them to find or to solve a case. Any and everything available to them. Meaning, a couple things. Let's say you're just an everyday person. You're not famous like Puff Daddy. They will use your TikTok, your Instagram, your social media story to find out where you're at, what you're doing, who you're with, et cetera, et cetera. There was a guy a few years ago. Some of y'all may remember this guy. Y'all remember Taxstone? Remember Taxstone, the podcaster from New York? He's been locked up for several years now, but he had a really popular podcast. I actually like listening to him. He was entertaining, and I just like the style of communication. But Taxstone ended up getting into a situation with some firearms, or him and another artist. He wasn't an artist, but he was a podcaster. They were shooting at each other. And you know how the police found out what the situation was, and how, because Taxstone he's had a criminal record that stipulated he could not be in possession of a firearm, right? So when he is on video using a firearm, now they got him on that. Then what happened is they found out that his friend had actually bought the firearm across state lines, which is also a crime, in order to get the firearm to Taxstone, the same firearm that got used. And this guy had come from Florida all the way back up to New York. And the way they figured this out is that they go on Instagram, and the guy who had the gun was taking pictures in Miami, and then they tracked him all the way up to New York using social media, et cetera, et cetera. I'm bringing all that up to say this, that law enforcement looks for crimes against high profile people because it helps build the resume of the district attorneys and the state's attorneys and the prosecutors who bring these cases. In other words, if a prosecutor was to take me or you to court as the defendant, and we're not super famous, and they get a conviction against me or you, that's one thing. If you get a conviction against Puff Daddy or Donald Trump or Jay-Z, that's a career case. Like, your career gets bigger because you're the one who brought Donald Trump to justice, or you took Puff Daddy to jail. So when you see these cases against these high profile people, don't think that they're doing this just because this person necessarily committed some egregious crime. That's often not the case. Sometimes it is. Most of the time it's not. It's because getting a case against this guy or against this girl or against this high profile person makes the prosecutor look good. It's like a notch on their belt. It's kind of like winning the championship in basketball. All right, it's one thing if you win a regular season game in December. Is another thing to win the championship. So putting some everyday person behind bars for 3 years is one thing. Putting Puff Daddy behind bars for 3 years is a much bigger thing. So these prosecutors are looking for ways to get a case against these people once they get status. So speaking of Puff Daddy, I mean, we're talking about him. He had a song, very famous song from back in the 90s called Mo Money, Mo Problems. Y'all remember that song? Well, one of the things that comes with more notoriety and making more money, and often when you make a lot of money, especially in the entertainment space, you get a lot of notoriety and attention from it, is that some of the attention and notoriety you get is not positive. Now, you get people coming after you just because of who you are and what you have or what they think you have. And some of the people coming after you are not just everyday people in the street who might want to try to rob you or get a lawsuit against you and want you to punch them in the face so they can sue you, but also the authorities, that they're looking for dirt on you because, again, a prosecutor can advance their career 10 levels quickly by finding a case against you. Just by getting you to go to jail, they can advance their own careers. So there's a whole game going on here. This is the reason why people who become publicly noted for their success, especially financially, they always have lawyers on retainer, or they should have lawyers on retainer because of this type of shit that happens. And this is just one of the trade-offs of notoriety. So any of you who become very well known, especially if you're well known for making a certain amount of money, one of the first things you should do is hire a lawyer. All right. First of all, hire somebody to look after your money, then hire somebody who can help protect you and keep you free and keep your money. That's an accountant and a lawyer, or a financial advisor, whatever words you want to give them. So anyway, here's what I believe happened. Again, this is all just my theory. What I believe happened, that law enforcement was looking at Puff Daddy already. They were already looking at him because he already had a case back in the days. Y'all remember the whole gun thing in New York with Jennifer Lopez way back in like 2000, 2001, whatever year that was. So he already had a case back then. And this is a guy who, again, has rapped about I'm this and I'm that, and I'm a street guy, but I'm not going to talk about street stuff, but I hang around a bunch of street guys. He's always been that kind of guy. He's always been that person talking about this stuff for decades. And when you talk about it, you're going to get attention for it. I believe the authorities were paying attention to this case with his ex-girlfriend, the lawsuit. They looked at the lawsuit because, again, the lawsuit was public. So everybody could see the stuff that's being alleged in this lawsuit. I believe the authorities looked at the lawsuit and they said, wait a minute, this guy did all of these things allegedly. Let's connect that to the stuff that we already have on him. Because here's the thing that happens when you're a public figure like that, is that they have a file on you. The authorities have a file on you, meaning they just have a folder with every little piece of evidence or information or allegation that has ever been brought against you. And they just keep it in the file. And they're just waiting for the moment when they can use it against you. Because, again, what I just tell you, using it against you and getting a case on you moves their career forward. So they will use you to move themselves forward, even if that means they got to come up with some bullshit in order to get you. I'm not saying what's against Puff is some bullshit. What I'm saying is this is how it can work. So if you want to see an example of that, look at Donald Trump and the cases he had in this past year. They will use you to move themselves forward. There are people whose names we would never have known. Miss James, Mr. Bragg, Miss Willis, Mr. Smith. We would never know these people's names if they didn't bring charges against Donald Trump. Is this true or not? Most of you never heard of these people until they start charging Donald Trump. All right. So did it work? Yes, it worked because we know their names now. And it's the same thing that happens with others. So when that lawsuit came out, all they did was download that lawsuit. Let's put this in the file against Puff Daddy. So they just added that to the file, connected it to information that they already had, that they had already been gathering for years on this guy. And they said, now we have enough. Now we got enough. Now we have allegations because, again, here's the other thing that y'all got to understand about law enforcement these days. And I remember I had a friend, this is probably about 10 years ago, I was talking to this guy, and he claimed, this is what he told me. He told me that he was in the streets selling some narcotics, that illegal narcotics. And he had done some time in prison because of it. And I asked him, how did you get caught? And he said, well, somebody told on me. And he said, and this is the thing that he said, and some of you know this saying. He said, nowadays, the police don't have to do any work because people tell on themselves. And the internet and our interconnectedness and these devices here where we put all of our lives out for everybody to see, this basically does all the detective work for the police these days. And I'm saying that to say this, that there have been people who have been probably talking to authorities about Puff for years because he's made a lot of enemies over the years. He's made a lot of enemies, and he's made enemies either on purpose or just indirectly, just because of his style, because of who he is, because of what he has, what he claims to have. That draws a lot of envy. When you show people what you have and you keep telling them that you got it, you're going to draw a lot of people who don't like you and want to see you lose. And they will do whatever they can to help you lose, including going to the authorities and giving the authorities dirt on you that the authorities could possibly use against you to incarcerate you. So all the police do, the investigators, they just keep gathering information. Okay, somebody came and said he did this. Somebody said this about him. Somebody said this about him. And none of it by itself is enough to bring a charge against him. None of it on his own. Some random person comes and says, hey, I was a backup dancer in one of Puff Daddy's videos, and I heard he has these, or I saw that he has these crazy sex parties at his house, or I heard that he films everything that he does and he keeps all the footage of every sexual escapade that he has, even when he's having sex with men or women or having orgies. I heard that's what he does. Or somebody else will come to the cops and say, well, I heard that he will drug people while he's at these parties, and then he'll take advantage of them sexually. So you have all these little pieces from different people that nobody's ever heard of over the years. All the authorities do is just gather all this shit together. They just keep gathering and gathering and gathering until they have enough material to bring a case. That's what they do. And again, when you're famous, they're just gathering shit quietly behind your back the whole time you're out there. This is why the more known you become, the more careful you got to be. And the more you need a lawyer and the more you need people watching your back, because this is the kind of shit that's going on. And you don't even know that it's happening, but it's happening. They're just waiting for the right moment to go to get you. So Puff Daddy, again, when you're out there like he was on purpose, all you're doing is inviting people to gather stuff to use against you. So all these people just kept dropping little stuff on him. Then that lawsuit came out where the person who you may be able to say the person who was closest to him, his girlfriend of 10 years, she comes out saying in the lawsuit a whole bunch of the same stuff that a bunch of random people came to the authorities and said over the years. Y'all catching what I'm saying here? Are y'all picking up what I'm putting down? So over the last 20, 30 years, a bunch of random people came to the authorities and said, Puff did this, but none of it's connected. So we don't quite know if it's true. Then his girlfriend, your girlfriend, you're with this girl for 10 years. She comes out saying a whole bunch of the same shit. They said, oh, we got enough now. Now we got enough. Now let's go find out. And here's the thing that they needed, because as an investigator, now I'm not a lawyer and I'm not a police, I'm not law enforcement, but I do understand how the law works in a general enough sense to understand that if you're going to charge someone with a crime, you need some corroborating evidence. You need something that would actually make this charge stick. Not necessarily get a conviction, but something that will make it stick. And when I say make it stick, what I mean is you need strong enough evidence that you can get in front of a judge and say, Judge, here's the evidence that we have, and here's why we want to go to trial on this and charge this guy with a crime. Because if you don't have good enough evidence, a judge can look at your case and say, this is bullshit. You don't have anything. I'm throwing this case out, and your whole case gets thrown out, and now the person gets to walk free. Same thing that happens in civil court. So if you're going to bring a charge as the prosecution, the state, you still had to have enough evidence that makes a judge say, okay, you have enough here that we are going to have a trial and find out if this person is actually guilty of a crime. So what's the corroborating evidence that they needed? The video. Not the video of him beating his girl. Not that video, because that's not even what he's charged with. The corroborating evidence is the video of him, allegedly, and this is what people have said about him, that he would film all these sexual things that he was doing. That he would have secret cameras in his houses, and anything he was doing sexually, he would film everything, and he would keep the footage because he just liked to watch the footage of himself doing stuff sexually. Allegedly. Okay, these are all things people have alleged about him. Now, here's the thing. If people have been coming for years to the authorities claiming these things, and then his girlfriend in the lawsuit, she alludes to the same thing, this is where they have enough information to say, okay, let's go charge this guy. And then they secretly decide when we're going to do it, where we're going to do it, how we're going to do it. So if you remember when he first got his houses raided, that was several months ago this year. And it was his house on the West Coast, California, then his house on the East Coast in Miami, that they raided his houses. Now, why'd they raid his house? They raided his house, well, first of all, because they're going to bring charges against him. And secondly, because they wanted to get that footage. Now, they didn't tell him they were going to do it, because if they told him that he could have been prepared, he could have got rid of all the footage. He didn't get rid of the footage because he didn't know they were coming. So when they come unexpectedly. So they show up unexpectedly, take all the footage out of his house. I believe this is what happened. Now, they didn't announce this because the government, they don't have to tell us what they're doing when it comes to a criminal charge or an ongoing case. So they go take all the footage out of his house in California. They go collect all the footage out of his house in Miami. And now they have the corroborating evidence. You get it? Now, this is enough evidence. They can say to a judge, we got the footage of this stuff that he's being charged with. We got the footage. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to be found guilty. They just say we got enough, that this is enough for a trial, and the judge agrees. Now, Puff Daddy's in the situation that he's in. Now he is incarcerated. Now he's being held, and he's not allowed. He's been trying to get bail. All right, so if y'all been following this case, I believe it was 3 times his lawyers went in front of the judge and tried to say, hey, can we post bail so that Puff Daddy can get out of jail and at least be in his house? We'll be on house arrest. He'll surrender all his phones. We just want to get him out of the detention center and just let him live in his own house. And 3 times they went to the judge with the same request. And all 3 times the judge said no. And the reason the judge said no is because the prosecution argued back. Well, this guy is very influential. This guy knows a lot of people. He has access to a lot of resources, and he's probably going to try to influence potential witnesses. If we let him out, then he's going to be wheeling and dealing and going to anyone who might end up testifying against him. He's going to intimidate them. He's going to try to get some people to be on his side. He's going to pay people off. We don't want this guy to have access to anything out in the open world. So no, judge, we should keep him in jail. And there's an argument between both sides. So the defense is trying to get him to get bail so he can go live in New York. And then this is where he was claimed because the charge is in New York. And then the prosecution saying, no, don't let him go live in his house. Keep him in jail. And the prosecution won, quote unquote, in this situation. So the judge said no. And this is why Puff Daddy's still in jail right now, even though he has not gone on trial yet. He has not been convicted of anything. He's just been charged. And this is the way the legal system works. If y'all don't know, when you get charged with a crime and you haven't been to court yet, the court gets to decide, the judge or the system gets to decide if you are deemed enough of a risk to where you still have to stay in jail until trial, or if you're allowed to be free out in public until your trial. So let's just say you get in a fist fight and you bloody somebody's nose, you might get arrested for a misdemeanor battery charge, and your trial is not for 3 months. But if it's your first ever charge, you might get bail. You can bail yourself out for $1,000 and you can go live your normal life, and then you just got to show up to court. But let's just say it's a felony charge or you got a long criminal record. The system might say, no, you can't bail out. You got to stay in jail for 3 months until the trial. And this is the way the system works. And this is where Puff Daddy's at right now. You got to stay in jail until the trial. And because of the size of this case, because of him being high profile, because of all the material that's going to come out of this, if it ends up being a trial, because of all this stuff, it may be a long time before this trial even happens. I'm thinking probably the summer of next year, maybe, is the earliest that this case even begins, or the trial rather either begins. They haven't even set a date yet. So any of you knows anything about the legal system, y'all know it is very slow. It takes a long time. You could go to a court date in, let's say I'm recording this in December. You go to a court date in December, and then the next time you show up, you got to be at court is like April. And it's one thing if you're out living your life every day and that's the situation. It's a whole other thing if you're sitting in jail waiting on that next date. So let's say you go to court today. You're in jail, they bring you to court, and the judge says, all right, well, this case is adjourned until April. But you got to go back to jail. So that means you got to go sit in jail January, February, March until April, until that next court date, and it might get delayed again. Right? That's years coming off your life while you're doing that. That's time coming off your life while you're just sitting there and you can't do anything, which is crazy, which is why I suggest to all of you stay out of the legal system. And if you end up in the legal system, please have a lawyer. All right, so all of that, let's continue. Now that I gave you my theory on where I think this case came from and why, because people have been gathering shit on this guy for years. The rich guy, I talked about this yesterday when I did the live about Elon Musk. When you are publicly noted for having a whole lot of money, you generally become an enemy of the masses. This is just how it works. This is how human nature works, especially in the United States of America, where we have, this has happened more, is become more prevalent over the last 15 years. In the United States of America, this seed has been sown that anyone or any entity who has a lot of money or is noted for having a lot of money, allegedly, is an enemy of everybody else. I don't think this way. I don't like this way of thinking. I don't subscribe to this way of thinking. And at the same time, I understand why a lot of people think this way. The reason a lot of people think this way is because most people don't see themselves as ever potentially being the person with a lot of money or a lot of success or a lot of wealth or whatever words you want to use. Most people don't see themselves as ever being able to get there. So instead of saying to themselves what I would tell people, which is, you see the person who has a lot more resources than you should ask yourself how they get it and how can I get it? How can I get it? How can I get to their level? That's one way of looking at it. The other way is, well, let me just demonize them and make them a bad guy so that anything bad happens to them, I'll be happy. So that situation with the healthcare guy who got shot a couple of weeks ago, a lot of people were allegedly happy about that because on one side, you got people who said, well, they're mad at the healthcare system. Well, killing the CEO is not going to change the healthcare system. I don't know where people got that bad idea. Healthcare system hasn't changed. So the guy got shot 2 weeks ago. Has the healthcare system changed? Not that I know of. And the other thing is because this guy is the head of this big company and some vigilante everyday person decide to do something bad, people are like, yeah, that's the way it's supposed to go. Okay. Most people would rather demonize the person who has the resources rather than ask themselves, how can I become the person who has the resources? And again, this is just the way most human beings think. So the masses are happy to see a publicly noted, successful person falling from grace. And again, doesn't necessarily have to be a court case. Just watching a train wreck. People like watching train wrecks. This is just the thing. This is the reason why when you're driving and there's a car accident, the traffic gets slow around it, not because of the lanes being blocked, but because everybody driving by the accident scene slows down so they can look and see the carnage and the death. All right, this is just how human beings are. It's just human nature. We just want to see people fall, fail, and not be in the position that they were before, regardless of their race, their background, or otherwise. You could take someone like Britney Spears. So remember when Britney Spears had her, I don't even know what you want to call what happened to Britney Spears, but a lot of people like watching it because she was on top for a long time. And then when she started to fall, she was getting just as much attention for falling as she was getting for being on top. So this is just how human beings are. So let's move on to the next point. In the court of public opinion, I already talked about this. In the court of public opinion, Puff is buried. Court of public opinion, Puff has already been tried and found guilty and convicted and has already been buried under the jail. That already happened. Why? Because he's on video, and in the era that we live in today, especially the era we live in today, this man is on video physically beating a woman. Now, this is not holding her back or fighting off her hitting him. Like, remember Jay-Z in the elevator a few years ago when Beyonce's sister Solange is basically trying to beat up Jay-Z and he's kind of like pushing her off. He wasn't beating her. He was just defending himself and just trying not to get slapped in the face. In this video with the Puff Daddy one, all y'all saw the video, right? All y'all saw the Puff Daddy video. So I keep referring to it. I'm assuming you all saw it. In that video, he is doing that on purpose. Like, he went and grabbed her, threw her on the ground, smacked her, kicked her, and then I believe he dragged her by her hair out into the hallway. Like, you can't talk around that. There's nothing you can say. There's nothing you can say when you're on video with that. That is going to bury him in the court of public opinion. He's already buried. If he ever gets out and if he's a free citizen again, let's say this case gets thrown out. Let's say he goes to trial and he wins. He can never get back to where he was. He's never going to be able to get back to where he was because no big corporation, because the way Puff got to where he's at is because he did a lot of big deals with big corporations. No corporation can afford to do business with that guy who's been on video beating a woman, especially in the era that we live in today, where this era of where feminism is gaining steam, where this whole era of let's demonize the powerful man who is subjugating all the minions and the peasants and the women. There's no way anybody's going to do business with this guy. No big business with this guy ever again. Good thing he has Notorious B.I.G.'s publishing, so he'll be able to pay his bills for the rest of his life. But as far as doing new business deals, it's pretty much a wrap. It's pretty much a wrap for Puff Daddy, unfortunately. And again, I'm a fan of his music. I don't see him doing anything else business-wise, music-wise. And Puff is maybe a little bit over the age of 50. So he ain't that old, but he also ain't that young. So hopefully, whatever he's going to do with the rest of his life, I don't know what it's going to be, but he's not going to be doing any more super big business deals. Even somebody like Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods' whole situation was he cheated on his wife, but none of it's on video. All right, you don't have footage of it. It's one thing if someone says you did it. It's another thing, even if you say you did it, it's a whole other thing when everybody can see you doing it. It changes the dynamic when people can see you doing it. If you say you did it, even if you admit it, Tiger Woods admitted that he stepped out on his wife and had sex with all these random other women, right? We all know that he did that, but he didn't beat his wife. He didn't physically do anything to her. He just cheated on his wife. People looked at that and said, all right, maybe you shouldn't have cheated on your wife, but and then when he came back and started winning golf tournaments, nobody gave a damn. They let it go. For the most part, nobody talks about it anymore when it comes to Tiger Woods. And he's still out there. I mean, he's older now. He's not a superstar golfer anymore, but just that is not nearly as bad as being on video doing the bad thing. And again, cheating on your wife is one thing. Beating your wife or your girlfriend is a whole other thing. Because the physical violence is a line that, again, in today's society, civilized society, you can't cross that line. And that's the problem with Puff. All right, so the beating video is the worst thing about it. The rumors of him having sex with other men is a thing. That actually is a good thing about the world we're in today, where the rainbow is getting more and more support. So that part doesn't really matter. It does, but it doesn't. And it does because Puff comes from hip hop culture, which is generally very phobic to that lifestyle, generally very phobic. And the other thing is, I don't hear anybody in hip hop defending Puff Daddy. You hear anybody defending him? I don't hear anybody defending him. I saw when the Jay-Z allegation came out, a bunch of people just on social media, not even famous people, just regular people, a bunch of people were defending Jay-Z. And they were either defending Jay-Z or they were defending Beyonce because she's married to Jay-Z, or they were defending the successful black man because that's a position that Jay-Z holds in the public eye. I don't see anybody defending Puff Daddy. Now, he doesn't have a wife. If he had Beyonce as a wife, it might be a whole different story with Puff Daddy right now. He doesn't have a wife. And the girl he was with 10 years left him and got a husband in like 6 months. So you could draw your own conclusions from how and why that happened. And I don't see anybody defending him, though. This is what I'm trying to figure out. Have any of you can name a name of a publicly noted, like well-known person whose name we would know who's been defending Puff Daddy? I don't hear anybody defending him. I heard a lot of people defending Jay-Z. I don't hear anybody defending Puff Daddy. Nobody. And I'm not even saying it as if that means Puff is wrong or bad. I'm just interested as to why that is, because he's been famous just as long as Jay-Z's been famous. He's actually, I believe Puff Daddy is more famous than Jay-Z. Generally, I believe he's more famous than Jay-Z. Now, Jay-Z got a boost to his fame by being married to a woman who is equally famous. But Puff Daddy was out before Jay-Z. Puff Daddy was running businesses and companies with more artists than Jay-Z was. And Puff Daddy has kind of kept his name out there for just as long as Jay-Z has. And Puff Daddy was doing he was doing corporate business and doing these big business deals, the same that Jay-Z eventually got around to doing. Puff was doing them before Jay-Z. So they're both equally famous. I believe Puff's more famous and has been famous longer. Why ain't nobody defending Puff Daddy? Everybody defended Jay-Z. I ain't hear nobody say anything. Somebody said only Ray J. So only Ray J? Only Ray J defended Puff Daddy? I didn't hear anybody defending Puff Daddy. And that's interesting to me. I'm just trying to figure it out. Why is nobody defending this guy? I believe, this is just my theory. Again, I believe my theory is that being that he was so big in hip hop for decades, that a lot of the rumors that were about him for years, about his sexual preferences, about the things he did with the drugs, about the filming of the parties, about the extracurricular parties after the regular party. You got the party that you take pictures at, the Instagram party, and then you got the after party. I believe the rumors about that and the stuff that people in hip hop knew about, if you're in any industry for 20, 30 years, the rumors get out there and people talk. People talk to each other. And it's one of the things that make criminal investigation so easy these days. People talk too fucking much, especially if you're doing anything illegal. Stop talking. All right. If I was doing something illegal, I wouldn't be doing these live streams. So I'm not doing anything illegal because I wouldn't be outing myself by talking on the internet for 2 hours every day. If you're doing anything illegal, people just talk too much these days. That the talk gets out about him. I believe a lot of people in the industry were already quietly saying, all right, this guy's eventually going to go down. And now that this is happening, everybody's just quiet because they were already thinking it. That's, again, just my theory. I don't know if this is actually true. Just my theory. So moving on, a couple more points here, and I'll take questions. Publicly noted people, especially those who are noted for having a significant amount of money. When you settle lawsuits, you know what usually happens is you get another lawsuit. Those who know how the lawsuit game works, a lawsuit is not a criminal charge. There are two different things. A lawsuit just means if you lose, you got to pay money. That's all that happens. You lose a criminal charge, you might go to jail. You lose a lawsuit, all you got to do is pay money. A lawsuit is just a civil case. Civil case and lawsuit are the same thing. And the only thing that happens if you lose a lawsuit is you have to pay money to somebody else. All right, that's the situation. The thing is, when you're publicly noted for having a lot of money and someone sues you and you settle the case, then other people notice that and they say, okay, well, this guy settled, which means he paid a certain amount of money. Settling in case just means if you sue me for $30 million, I go meet with my lawyer, meets with your lawyer, and we'll say, all right, we'll pay you $15 million to just go away and drop the case. You say yes, I pay you $15 million, you drop your case. Now, the public finds out that I settled the case. They don't know the number because usually the number is not disclosed. You got to sign a non-disclosure agreement. You're not allowed technically to talk about how much you settled for. But if people know that you settled the case, because everybody knows what settling a case means. It means I paid a certain amount of money to make you go away and drop the lawsuit. Where everybody else sees that and says, well, shit, let me sue him. All right, Puff Daddy just settled a lawsuit that was $30 million. Okay, let me sue Puff Daddy for $20 million. Maybe he'll give me $5 million. he settled that case, or let me sue Puff Daddy. Maybe I'll get some money. And this is the same thing that they did with Jay-Z. And this is why Jay-Z came out with the statement that he came out with, is that this guy, this lawyer, is coming to sue me thinking that I'm going to settle. But no, I'm not going to settle. We'll fight it. And you're not getting any money from me. That's what Jay-Z said in his statement, long story short. But Puff Daddy, after settling, now Puff Daddy doesn't mean Puff Daddy just settles every case. But the case that he settled with his ex-girlfriend, I believe he settled because he knew that a lot of shit in that case was true. And he didn't want to have to go to court, because if you go to a lawsuit and you go to court and you fight the lawsuit, and then you still have to give a deposition, you still got to basically take the stand, and you can't lie. He can't go up there and lie and say these things aren't true, because if you get caught lying, you go to jail anyway. So I believe he looked at that lawsuit and said, damn, all right, she's going to out all my shit. Let me just settle this lawsuit and make it go away. I think if he had a chance to do it over, he wouldn't have let that lawsuit happen, because that lawsuit, I believe, tipped off the criminal authorities to come after him. That, again, all just my theory. So lawsuits are easy paydays for lawyers and plaintiffs. So that lawyer who tried to sue Jay-Z, or was claiming he was going to sue Jay-Z, he was just looking for a payday. And this is exactly what Jay-Z said. This is the reason why famous people get sued all the time. This is why big companies get sued all the time. So you think companies like Walgreens and CVS and Walmart, these companies get sued all the time. The reason they get sued all the time is because people know they have money, and they have entire departments of people there to either settle lawsuits or to fight lawsuits. And this is what they do. They just get sued all the time. America is the most litigious society in America. America is the most litigious society in the world. It's very easy to sue anybody. And if a lawyer believes they can get some money out of somebody, they will take your lawsuit and help you sue anybody you want to sue. So if you do something like, if I go to Target and I take some stuff back, and I return some blankets to Target, and Target won't take the blankets, I can go to a lawyer and get them to file a lawsuit against Target, and we can sue Target for $50,000. And Target might say, all right, we'll settle with you for $15,000. And boom, I just got $15,000. Now I might have to give $5,000 to the lawyer. I just made $10,000. I ain't had to do nothing. This is how it works. So any of you don't know how the legal system works, this is how it works in the United States. So when you hear about lawsuits, don't be so easily moved by them. This is just lawyers looking for ways to get paid. Any of you want to make sure you always have a way to get paid, become a lawsuit filing attorney and just file lawsuits against big companies and entertainers. You'll probably always have people offering ways for you to make money. Anyway, let's continue. Only saving grace that Puff Daddy has. He has one possible saving grace. One thing that could possibly save him, aside from his lawyers fighting in court, is that a whole lot of black people over the last several years have started pulling out this concept of they, being the system or America, is trying to take down successful black men. And Puff Daddy is a publicly noted successful black man. That's the one thing that might save him in the court of public opinion. Might actually save him in criminal court too, because I guarantee you his lawyers are going to use this. If this ends up going to trial, they are going to use it. This guy's a black man who came from the streets of Harlem, New York, and raised by a single mother because his father got murdered when he was a child. He built himself up into a successful business mogul. And now here you are, the court, the United States court, trying to take down this successful black man. And people in the public sphere are going to be saying the same thing. Oh, they're only taking him down because he's successful and black. They did it to Bill Cosby. They tried to do it to Jay-Z. They tried to do it to R. Kelly. They did it with Michael Jackson. Now they're trying to do it to Puff Daddy. They're just trying to take all the successful black people and try to take them down. That is something that, if I was Puff Daddy's legal team, we are absolutely using that in court. Same way Johnny Cochran used the race thing with O.J. Simpson, I would absolutely use that in court. I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying it's false. I'm saying that if I'm in court, I'm going to use that, because my job as a lawyer, as a defense attorney, is to use anything and everything that's going to help my client win the case. And I'm absolutely using that. And if I want to make Puff Daddy look good in the court of public opinion, which matters as well, because Puff Daddy's whole business is about his reputation in the public. See, if he has a stained, trashed reputation, he can't do any business. He's done. So think about O.J. Simpson. After O.J. beat that case in the 90s, what business deals you see O.J. Simpson do for the next 30 years? He was alive for another 30 years after he beat the case. What O.J. Simpson do business-wise? He didn't do shit, because nobody would touch him, because his reputation was destroyed. And before that, O.J. Simpson was on TV. He was doing Hertz commercials back in the day. Those of y'all remember? After that trial, O.J. Simpson could not do anything business-wise because nobody wanted to go near him, even though he got found innocent. So what's Puff Daddy going to do after this? Business-wise, he can't do anything, because nobody's going to touch him. Nobody wants to go near this guy. Even Jay-Z had a statement. He didn't say it not out of his mouth, but the statement from Jay-Z's camp was that Jay-Z and Puff Daddy are not actually friends. You saw that? That Jay-Z was distancing himself from Puff Daddy. We ain't friends. Now, I've seen pictures of him and Puff Daddy hanging out together, like at his parties in LA or whatever. Now, it doesn't mean that doesn't necessarily make you friends, but it's interesting when someone comes out with a statement and says we are not friends. That's kind of like you're separating yourself from that person. And I get it why Jay-Z's doing that, but it's also interesting to me. So the only saving grace Puff Daddy has is, again, successful black man that people don't want to see another successful black man being taken down. And the last point that I'll make here, then I'll take questions. When Donald Trump ran for president in 2015, before the 2016 campaign, he was coming down that golden escalator in his building. He said that when he was coming down the escalator, he turned to his kids and he said, now we're going to find out who our real friends are. And this is the situation Puff Daddy's in right now. He's going to find out who his real friends are, or he's already found out who his real friends are. Puff Daddy been locked up since when? When they lock him up? Like August? He been locked up for months. Whoever his real friends are, he knows who they are now. It ain't Jay-Z. Jay-Z ain't one of his real friends. Who's Puff Daddy's real friends? Because when you're in that situation, when you're in a situation where you're winning and everything's working, especially when you're publicly noted, especially when you're noted for having money, everybody's your friend, like Jay-Z. And when you're losing, you're locked up. There's a video out of you beating your girl that the whole world can see, and you can't deny that it happened. Now you're about to be charged, or you've been charged, and you're about to go to trial for some underage sexual deviance. You're going to find out if you got any friends. If you have any, you're going to find out who they are. And that's where Puff Daddy is right now. It seems like a lot of people have left him, as far as I can tell. But again, maybe I'm not seeing it all. I don't know who's calling him, who's sending letters to him, but that's what I've seen publicly. Publicly, if Jay-Z was locked up, I'd be hearing a whole lot of people defend Jay-Z, like verbally defend him, known people. I don't hear anybody defending Puff Daddy. Nobody. All that said, let me take questions and comments. Let's start over on YouTube. Shagun said, do I still play basketball? No, I don't play basketball, but my videos are still out on YouTube, so y'all can find them. So Pimp Hand Silk said, I don't know how you still call P Diddy. Well, his name when he came out was Puff Daddy. I didn't call him Daddy. I called him Puff Daddy. So let's be clear. All right. His name when he came out was Puff Daddy. So I'm calling him Puff Daddy because when I first heard of him, that's what he called himself in the 90s. Now he calls himself P Diddy. But Puff Daddy just sounds like a better term as far as I like that title better. If I was advising him, I'd say Puff Daddy is a better name than P Diddy. And so that's why I call him Puff Daddy. But you know who I'm talking about, right? Okay. So, all right, we'll come over to TikTok. I am going to go live tomorrow. I'll probably talk about an evergreen topic. It's not going to be a current event, but I will be here tomorrow. Give Me Liberty said, all the people who didn't come to help, he should expose. Well, we'll see. If he goes to trial, he might. If he ends up going to trial, or he meets with authorities and they'll say, all right, you give up some other people and you make some other people look bad that we can use, we can bring them to trial, then we'll give you less of a charge. That will be offered to him. They always do that. If they have you on something, they'll say, all right, give up some other people and we'll help you out. They're going to offer that to him. The question is, would he take it? That's the question. Someone said, imagine defending Diddy. Well, I mean, he ain't been found guilty of anything yet. Nims said, I like the tie yesterday. What about the tie today? You like today's tie? Give Me Liberty said they kept the tapes all on. That's what they say. They say that he was filming everything and he kept the tapes. We don't know for sure because they haven't put that information out there. But my theory is that he did keep the tapes and that the authorities raided his house so they could get the tapes. And they're going to use those tapes as evidence against him in court, or they're going to use them in negotiations to where, because the other thing they'll do is they'll meet with his lawyers and they'll say, look, this is what we got. Here's all the tapes. You know what was in your house. You know what you filmed, Puff Daddy. We got all the tapes. If we go to trial, we're going to show all these tapes in court and everybody's going to see them. And this is going to bury you. You're going to lose this and you're going to get found guilty. Or if you want to avoid going to trial, then just accept a plea deal. And the plea deal might be, instead of asking the judge to give you 30 years in jail, we'll ask them to give you 10 years in jail and basically just negotiate. So that's what they're going to offer him. Now, he could say no to all of that, go to court and win, and he does no time in jail. The thing is, you're gambling. You're gambling because if you lose, now you get 30 years. You win, you get no years. So what would you do? So this is all of that's part of the negotiation that he's going to be dealing with his lawyers versus the state. Jay Broad said, I'm glad you're speaking on this and breaking it down. Thank you. Stacy says some aspects of AI are scary. Yes, they are. And people, you can already do this with AI. You can already make fake videos. The thing is, it's costly to make the video right now, so not everybody can do it. But just watch. Over the next 5 years, it'll be to where anybody can do it, and you can make a video that shows anybody doing anything. And you know what's going to put the P word industry out of business, because now you can make your own. You won't even have to actually do it. You can make your own. PORN industry. They're going to put them out of business. You can just make your own with AI. Same way you can make AI photos now and filters. You can make AI PORN. I got to be careful what words I say on TikTok. That's why I'm spelling it up. Let's see. Ray said, didn't the lawsuit come out before the video was public? I don't know which one happened first. They happened close to the same time. But that is what I said, though. Ray Bay is what I said, that the lawsuit came out and then the video came out. And because when the lawsuit came out, Ray Bay, what happened is Puff put out a statement saying, well, they're just trying to extort me and make me look bad and trash me, and I'm going to clear my name. He came out with the basic template statement that comes out anytime somebody is sued. Then the video came out, and then people didn't quite want to hear anything he had to say because the video came out and it's like, dude, you can't deny the video. And that's when he settled the lawsuit. So that's the order that happened. Lawsuit came out, then the lawsuit came out, then he said, well, they're just trying to get money out of me. Then the video came out, and then he came out with contrition and apologizing, and then he settled the lawsuit because he just looked bad. In the court of public opinion, he just looked bad when that video came out. Jay Broad said, I agree with everything you're saying, so I'm glad you're doing this, brother. Somebody needed to. Thank you. Well, as soon as it actually comes, the actual case, if there becomes a trial, then I'll talk about that more. But right now, it's just a waiting game, which sucks for Puff Daddy because he got to sit in jail while he's waiting. It'd be one thing if he was free while waiting. Another thing, you got to sit in jail while you're waiting for something to happen. That sucks, especially if you haven't been convicted of anything. Now, if he was convicted, it'd be a different story. If he hasn't been convicted, he's still got to sit in jail. That sucks. Cirque says, are people defending Diddy here? Well, I'm defending his innocence until he's proven guilty. Yes, I'm defending that. In the United States, you are innocent until you are proven guilty. That's just how it works. JCR said, you say they're picking on Diddy? No, I wouldn't use that language. Broad says, right is right, wrong is wrong, is politics. Yeah, well, we don't know yet. We don't know if he did anything right or wrong. We just know that he's been charged with a crime, but it does not mean he committed the crime. They have to prove it. Kilo said, when you have crazy money, you can afford to fuel more wild activities. I suppose you can do wild stuff even when you ain't got a lot of money. And we got to find out if he actually did it. They got to prove it. Again, they have to prove it. So same thing that comes with anybody else going to court. Doesn't matter how you personally feel about them. They have to prove it if you bring a charge against a person. So right now, we don't know. That's why I'm defending him, because people have seemed to be burying this guy, but we don't know yet. Time with Reed said, just listening so far. Well, thank you. Thank you for listening. JCR said, your logic is distorted. All right, tell me what I got wrong. Julie said, Merry Christmas. Thank you. Merry Christmas to you. Someone said, this man is telling the truth, but y'all don't want to hear it. Yeah, I mean, I haven't said whether he was guilty or not guilty. I'm just breaking down, trying to explain it. Solomon said, Mark Curry been talking about for years, and y'all called him a hater. Yeah, I remember Mark Curry was talking about it for a long time. Also, Big's bodyguard, Puff's bodyguard, which was Gene Deal. I watched him on YouTube a good amount, and he's been talking about him too. But they would have to show up in court. If this goes to trial, all these people are going to get called as witnesses. So Mark Curry will be called as a witness. Every rapper that used to work with Puff will get called as witnesses. Gene Deal, his bodyguard, he would get called as a witness. And everybody in hip hop be a witness. Jay-Z will get called as a witness. All these people get called as witnesses, because the more big names they can bring as witnesses, the bigger profile the case becomes, and the bigger deal it becomes for the prosecution if they actually get him convicted. This is a career case. If they get him to go to trial, this is a career case. Sir Du Wesley said, I've experienced evil men, see how they trick people into thinking innocent. Okay. Doesn't mean Puff Daddy is that. It must be proven. Again, Sir Du Wesley, you got to prove it. Victoria said, all rappers have FBI files. And that's a fact. I agree with that. You're right. 100%. Angie said, if he wasn't dirty, nobody could give the police dirt on him. Now, that's not true, Angie. Somebody could give the police dirt on you. Doesn't mean you're dirty. Dirt doesn't necessarily mean it's true. Because again, I can go to the police and say Angie does ABC. The police will take note of what I said, but they still have to go find out if it's true or not. Now, if you get enough allegations of a thing, and then you get something that kind of connects to the allegations, now you have enough to go and take the next step, which is what happened with Puff. So people probably gave the police shit on him for years, but they didn't have proof. The video of him beating his girl combined with the lawsuit from that same girl, that gave them enough to say, okay, now let's go do something. He's been famous for 30 years. So why are they just bringing the case right now? Again, people have been talking shit about him for decades. Any of you follow hip hop, you know. And people have been talking shit about Puff Daddy for 25 years, but he never had a court case except for the gun thing until now, because they needed something to stick. Now they had something to stick. That was the issue. Jay Ross said Diddy has issues, but he still deserves a fair trial, and he will get one. Problem for him is he got to sit in jail until that happens. Retribution said they're trying to get him on a RICO. Yeah, which is, again, that's just a bigger case for the government. But they got to be careful. You overcharge, you might end up losing. Time with you, no, appreciate you. The gifter badge. Appreciate that. Video evidence, Cert says the video evidence of him beating his girlfriend is proof enough the character of the man. No, not really, because the video of him beating his girlfriend, he's not charged with that. That has nothing to do with the charges that he has right now. It will be used. The prosecution is going to try to use that. The judge might not let them use it, but it will be used against. And the court of public opinion is already out there. So he already is buried publicly, regardless of the criminal case, because of that video. But I wouldn't say that that's proof of the character of the man, because you could take one isolated incident of any human being and make them look terrible. You make anybody look bad if you just take one isolated incident. Now, I'm not saying that's the only thing he's ever done or been alleged of, but we also got to try to be objective and fair here. Victoria said, Diddy, Weinstein, Cosby upset the elites that protected them. No, that's what people say. That's what people say. Each case is unique, but when people are known like that, these kind of things happen. Cirque said he only apologized once the proof was out. Yes, that is correct. Before that, he called her a liar out for his money. Yes, that is exactly what he did. And again, that's why he's buried in the court of public opinion, because he did exactly what you said. And I believe that tipped the authorities off that there might be something behind that lawsuit. So that's where I said he missed. That was the misstep by Puff. He should have just paid her off and not by her even bring a lawsuit in the first place. Cirque said people are guilty all the time. Often there's a lack of evidence. Well, the saying is, show me the man and I'll show you the crime. So if someone was to do a deep dive in your life, I bet they could find a crime too. That's the thing. That's the thing about the system, is that if they want to find a crime against you, they'll find one. And if they don't have one, they'll make one. Jay Broad said he was denied bail 3 times. That wasn't right based on rumors. Well, they came with the same question. They came with the same argument all 3 times. So even though he got denied bail 3 times, it was really just one request, but they made the same request 3 times. It's like your kid comes to you and says, can I go outside? And you say no. And then they come to you again and say, can I go outside? And you say no. And then they come again and ask the same question. You say no 3 times, but they only asked one question. So the thing with Puff, his lawyers didn't come with a different reason to get bail. They just came with the same reason 3 different occasions and got told no all 3 times. Jules said, don't they always raid homes unexpectedly? I don't know about always, but if your home is getting raided, they don't tell you that they're coming, because whatever they're looking for, they don't want you to know so that you can't prepare. So usually if the authorities raid your home, they don't tell you that they're about to do it. Actually, they never tell you they're about to do it. Makaya said he too dangerous on the outside. Well, that's what the prosecution argued, and it worked. Freddie said he's a flight risk. Yeah, that's another thing. That's what the prosecution said. Brent said, you are poking holes in the case, but nah, he's so guilty though. All right, well, do you work for the prosecution? You got to prove it. You got to prove it. Freddie said he has his own plane. Yeah, I know. Well, the thing is, The offer that the defense lawyers made was that he won't use the plane, he won't leave New York, he'll turn in his passport, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they still said no. That's the thing. Chris said, y'all keep talking about all the proof of material, but all we've seen is a fight with her, Free Puff. Well, first of all, Chris, it wasn't a fight. A fight is when both people are swinging. That was not a fight. That was a beating. And secondly, that's not proof of anything. It's just that he beat his girl, but that's not even what the case is about. I'm talking about those are two separate things. The court of public opinion and the criminal court are two separate things. And the court of public opinion, Puff is buried because of that video. In criminal court, that video does not have anything to do with the charges that are currently against him. Two different things. Renata got the gifter badge. Appreciate you. Thank you for the heart. James said, no, but billionaires are unethical, though. Based on what? That framing is a fallacious framing. What do you mean by that? K-Lo, good morning. James said, I would never want to become a billionaire. Okay, well, if you don't want to, it probably won't happen by accident. Leslie, good morning. Robin said, you cannot put Brittany and the man who used AI to deny people basic needs, make it make sense. What are you talking about? I don't know what you're referring to. Sassy Jib said, you dress beautifully. Thank you. I appreciate that. K-Lo said, either one makes the person a piece of shit. I understand. I'm not arguing with that. Jay Broad said, they treated Jay-Z way better than Diddy. Yes, well, two things. First of all, Jay-Z never got a criminal charge. And secondly, Jay-Z is not on video beating a female. Those are two differences with Puff. So I understand why the difference with Puff. I'm just wondering why nobody's defending Puff. Jay Broad said, you're not even defending Diddy. You're telling the truth. All right, fine. Well, the truth is he's also not guilty yet. So that's one defense of him. Triple O said Dr. Umar. All right, Dr. Umar is a good example. Dr. Umar defends anything black. I believe somebody asked me about Dr. Umar yesterday. Dr. Umar is a racist. He's funny. He's entertaining. I believe he's very articulate, and I believe that he believes everything he stands on. And I agree with him about 60% of the time. So Dr. Umar is a good example. Yes, Dr. Umar will defend anything black, and if the opponent happens to be anything that is white or system or America, Dr. Umar will defend it. So yes, I will give you Dr. Umar. That's a good example. Graham said, what is the relevance to the questions just asking for clarity? I don't know what question you're talking about. Lee June said Chris Brown. Oh, Chris Brown's defending Puff Daddy. All right. I don't follow Chris Brown, but okay. Stevie Wonder. Is that a joke or a serious? Stevie Wonder. User said, who is defending Jay-Z? I saw a lot of people on social media defending Jay-Z, not famous people, just people, period. I didn't see anyone on social media defending Puff Daddy. That's my point. I saw everyday people who I don't know defending Jay-Z. I didn't see everyday people who I don't know defending Puff Daddy. Lady said a lot of silence, which also speaks volume. Yes, that's what I'm saying. I don't hear anybody defending him, even though he's been famous just as long as Jay-Z. I would argue even more famous than Jay-Z and has been in hip hop just as much as Jay-Z and is just as connected as Jay-Z, but nobody's defending him like Jay-Z. That's the thing. Yes, Jay Broad, exactly. I don't hear anybody defending Puff Daddy. Nobody. Any of y'all that want to defend Puff Daddy? Coach said, so basically I need to start looking for a way to get paid. I don't know what you're responding to when you say that. Oh, yeah. You talking about with the lawsuits? Yes. This is why famous people get sued all the time. Big companies get sued all the time because this is what happens. In America, you can sue anybody for anything. If you're walking down the street and you trip over the sidewalk and fall, you could sue the company that is in front of that sidewalk. That literally is a thing. And yes, you can sue people for that. And yes, people do get sued for that. Travels with Tia Diva said that is not going to fly in real court. Well, we'll see. That's the whole purpose of having a court case, is that the prosecution tries to use everything they have to get it submitted to the jury, and the defense tries to block everything so that it can't get in front of the jury. That's the whole point. That's the reason why court cases take so long. It's the reason why lawyers make so much money. The longer the case, the more you got to pay your lawyers. This is why I advise all of you, don't do anything illegal unless you got a whole lot of money, because you're going to spend a lot of it on lawyers. Or just become a lawyer so that when people do dumb shit, you get paid. Otherwise, stay out of the legal system. Travel said, do you think any judge is going to give a fuck about that? Well, the judge just decides whether something can be admitted to court, because in this kind of case, you get in front of a jury. The jury is actually making a decision, not the judge. The judge just decides what can you present as evidence and what can you not present as evidence. So if the judge says you can present this, then the jury gets to give a fuck. And if the judge says you can't present it, then nobody gets to find out. That's how it works. Travel said, I guess you could try that with the jury, but I don't see any judge. Well, the judge only just decides, again, if you can present it or not. The jury, we don't know. We don't know who the jury is. That's the thing. And usually you don't know who the jury members are, the jurors. Vinny said, you know, as a lawyer, there's a difference between innocent and not guilty. Okay. And what's the significance of that, this point, my cousin Vinny? Letitia said, you're absolutely right. Thank you. Dr. McLilly said, Beyonce told Jay-Z, get out that ish. Get out of what? Someone said, I lost my spot. Let me find it. I'm going to answer these, a couple more comments, a few more comments that we have here now I'll address. Someone said, Lady Diva said, you should be a professor, are you? I am not like a college professor. I'm not employed by anybody. I am a professor, but not the type of professor that you're probably alluding to. I'm a professor of objectivity, rationality, and logic. That's the kind of professor I am. But I do it as a business owner, not as an employee or college professor. But I appreciate the compliment. My cousin Vinny said, don't forget OJ was hired for the Hertz commercials by Jose Menendez. I didn't know that, if that's true. Interesting. Mick said, changes to did he? That's funny. Travel said he probably needs a role by Sean Combs. Yeah, that's a good point. He should just change his name to Sean Combs. Yeah, just keep changing your name. So what's going to happen on him? We don't know yet. He got to sit in jail and wait until he gets a court date. Randy said, do you think Jay-Z not at any Diddy parties? Well, it's two Diddy parties. All right, the Puff Daddy parties, it was two parties. You got the party that you see on TV. That's the one where all the cameras are at and you take pictures and you put that on Instagram. That's the above the board party. That's the party that's cool to be at. Then there's the after party. The after party, there's no cameras, at least not cameras that you know about. That's the alleged hidden cameras and the drugs and the sex and all that. That's the after party. So was Jay-Z at the after party? We don't know. That's the whole point. That's what we are trying to find out, or we will find out if this goes to trial. Candid said, I think they would have said it, they found the tapes. Well, I'll bring up baby oil, but not the tapes. Yeah, I heard about the baby oil. Well, the tapes, we don't know. Doesn't mean just because they didn't announce it doesn't mean they don't have it. I would not use that framing, candid conversations, Aubrey. I would not use the framing that just because the authorities don't tell you that they have something, that they don't have it. That's the whole point of a court case, that they don't tell you what they got. And so they have to lay all their cards on the table. Then they show you what they have because they don't want to give you time to prepare. That's the whole point. Same way they don't announce that they're going to come raid your house, because if they tell you they're going to come, then you might take all the shit out the house. They don't tell you so that they can surprise you with the shit. The element of surprise matters in combat. And when you go to a criminal trial, you're in combat. It's defense against the prosecution. It's combat. I'm not going to announce to you what I got. I'm just going to surprise you with it and see what you do about it. That's the gamesmanship. Grant said, to feel offering up people would have him leaning towards specific races, genres of people. Letitia said, how's he going to win? Well, all he has to do is poke holes in the case of the prosecution. In the United States criminal court, it is innocent until proven guilty, and you must be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. So all the defense has to do is get a reasonable doubt. They don't have to prove that he's innocent. They just have to prove that he's not guilty. So I think that's what I think it was Vinny made that comment earlier. Same with O.J. Simpson. They didn't have to prove that O.J. was innocent. They just had to prove that the case that the prosecution had wasn't good enough. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit. Y'all remember that, right? All right. So that's all you got to do when you're a defense attorney. You just got to prove that the prosecution's case ain't good enough. That's it. Does Diddy have a winning chance? Yes, he does. You always have a winning chance on the defense side as long as you got a good lawyer. And Diddy has good lawyers. So yes, he has a winning chance. The prosecution has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he's guilty. If they fail to do that, then he wins. That's it. Breedwell said, are you defending P. Diddy? I am defending his innocence. He is innocent until proven guilty. The prosecution has the uphill battle here. They're the ones who have to prove everything. Puff Daddy doesn't have to prove anything. He's innocent until they prove, or unless they prove that he's guilty, and they haven't proven anything yet. Bronze Bella said, do I think P. Diddy will get convicted? As of now, no, because he hasn't even gone to trial yet. They haven't. I want to see the full charges that they bring against him, because they may bring more stuff that they haven't even announced yet. And we're going to see if this actually goes to trial. All of those things are still up in the air. It may not even go to trial. We'll see. So we still got to wait on all this stuff. LV, my pug said, other people charged with the same crime have got bail. Yes, well, it depends on the situation. Every situation is unique. Because of who he is and because of the things that are alleged against him, I understand why the judge denied the bail. I'm not saying that the judge is right or wrong, but I understand is what I'm saying. Aubrey said, your logic is not wrong. It's just a hater talking. That's okay. They're out. JJ said, what about the Jaguar talker? Well, I think she came out and said that she was like recanting her statements. I haven't heard everything she said, but I think she went back on some of the things she said. W. Baldsley says, somebody has to speak defense no matter how bad the situation looks. Yeah, right now we just got a bunch of information. We don't even know. Right now he's still innocent. They got to prove it. That's the uphill climb. That's why the prosecution has all the, what's the word? The burden of proof is on the prosecution. They have to prove it. User said, I appreciate your vernacular. I've been Googling it, contrition. Yes, that's when he came out after the beating video. Yes. Aubrey said, people bringing their emotions into this. I hate to be him. These people have nothing going on. Well, it's the thing is, Aubrey, is current events. Current events people like talking about because it's interesting. And that's why the news is the news, because people just want to know what's going on. It's just an interesting subject. W. Balsey says, system does not prove innocence, simply determines your level of guilt. You're never innocent. Well, you're innocent until they prove you guilty. I'm just using the actual language of the law. That's what I mean. Do I think he will go to trial? I don't know. I think that's very much up in the air. Right now, I'm thinking 50-50. I think they're going to show what they have when they have to, the prosecution. His lawyers are going to look at it and they're going to decide, should we just take a plea or should we fight this? We don't know. I don't know enough yet to make that call. Damn it, Andy said, the police want to close cases. They don't care who's innocent or not. Well, that's the judicial system. That's the prosecution wants to close cases. Police don't do cases. Police just enforce the law. They do what the legal system tells them to do. They're not the ones arguing in court. That's the prosecution, the state's attorney, the state itself, and the attorneys for the state. Randy said, the court isn't accepting the $50 million bond. Do you really think they don't have the proof? I don't think it's so much about the money. They got unlimited resources. They have as much resources as they want. $50 million ain't shit to them. It's not about the money. It's about him. And again, I told you, this is a career case. It has nothing to do with money. Well, not at least this part. Let's see. Thank you, W. Balt Slay. Someone can think objectively on the matter. Yes. Jay Broad said he should have paid her. Yeah, he should have paid her up front before the lawsuit. He paid her after the lawsuit, but I think that lawsuit hurt him. Then on top of that, you have process crime. They must come with a warrant, right? I don't know. You had to ask somebody who works more deeply in the legal system for that one. But we already know they did it, and we know they raided the house. So whatever they did to do it, they did it. I think depending on what the situation is, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. It might depend on the state. It might depend on many things. Julie said, I wish you could have time to teach me. I'm literate. I love listening to you. I watch you here. Thank you. Subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. Someone said, Baltsley says, someone has defended bad guy. Someday you might be the bad guy. Yeah, well, Puff might not be a bad guy. We'll see. He might not be a bad guy. Miss Perfect said, what about the guns? Well, did he have them legally? If it's legal, then the guns aren't a thing. If you have them legally, you're allowed to have a gun. Second Amendment. Someone says, there a different holding area for the unconvicted? That I don't know. Either way, I don't want to be in a holding area. I don't care if I'm convicted or not. Holding area means I'm locked up and I don't have my freedom. So I don't care what kind of area it is. I don't want to be in it. Frank T said, I look forward to your lives. Thank you. Be here tomorrow. Balsley said, I'm guessing you're a lawyer. Have you considered becoming a judge? I am not a lawyer. I just play one on TikTok. I am not a lawyer. I'm a business owner, entrepreneur. Lawyers can be business owners too, but I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a coach and business consultant and author and speaker and sales trainer. I just happen to, just the way that I talk, people think that I might be a lawyer. And because I'm dressed, I guess lawyers dress like this. So I get it. Yeah, he's not married like Jay-Z. I think that matters. If he is married to Beyonce, I think he'd be getting a different look right now, Puff Daddy. But if he is married to Beyonce, he might not be doing those parties. So I don't know. A whole bunch of different things. So someone said, Tia Diva said, I'm a lawyer. I know how it works. All right, there you go. So we got a lawyer in here. So Tia Diva could tell you exactly what happens with lawyers. Tia Diva said, well, I'm reading the comments. I'm scrolling through from the top. So yes, by the time I'm reading you all's comments is after you respond to something that I said. That's why I'm asking sometimes for context. Someone says, so you're not a professor. No, I am not a professor. I said that earlier. I do not work for anyone. So I am not a professor. Professors are usually employed at colleges. I am not employed at a college. I can never be employed at a college. They will look up my social media and it'd be over. Yeah, I am him said, don't have to show all the evidence. No, they don't. They don't have to show anything. They can hide as much as they can until the last possible minute. That's the point. Steven said, all they need is guilty on one charge. Exactly. It depends on which charge, though. They want to get the biggest one. But the whole point is they want to charge you with a bunch of shit. And if they get something, then that's a win for them. Someone said Russell Simmons in a similar situation. Yeah, I don't think Russell's coming back. I think Russell's staying out of America forever. That's the way it appears. But they never found him guilty. So technically, he's still innocent. Chris said he has friends wanting to be mentioned or say they're friends with him anymore. Yes. Punkology, I don't even know what you're referring to. Travels with Tia Diva. No, I'm not a lawyer. I just play one on social media. AB said a coach that don't need coaching because they have money already. What are you referring to in that question? I don't know what you're talking about. Jay Broad said you could be a lawyer because you're speaking like one. Yeah, I get people saying that to me like every day when I do these lives. People say, I thought you were a lawyer, or asking me if I'm a lawyer, or tell me I speak like one. I do speak like a lawyer, I guess. But no, being a lawyer is not for me. Let's see. All right, so Sav, you can get a better education. Tia said, you're the best social media lawyer I've come across for sure. You should go to law school. Hell no, I ain't going to law school. I ain't going to any kind of school. I have a 4-year college degree and I'm never going to school ever again. I did enough. No more school for me. But Work on Your Game University. Now, do you want to talk about a school? All right, Work on Your Game University. That's the school that I have. So Pimp Hand Silk, yes, that's what I'm referring to. And I'm not mentioning her name because she's married to another man, and she's not the main thing here. I don't like bringing people's names into it who don't need to be brought into it. The topic here today is about Puff Daddy. It's not about his ex-girl, and she's somebody else's wife also. So that's why I'm not putting her name in it. But anyway, as far as being a lawyer, Tia, we got enough lawyers out there. Shout out to the lawyers. I appreciate lawyers. I value lawyers. I would use lawyers if and when I need them. I am not trying to become one. I'd rather play a lawyer on Instagram. It's easier. It's easier to play a lawyer on social media than it is to be a lawyer in real life. So, and I don't want to do the paperwork. From what I've heard about lawyers, and I know enough people who've gone to law school and done law, and most people I know who know law and have talked about it have told me that they got out for reasons. I don't like doing paperwork. Being a lawyer, from what I've heard to you tell me. I've heard that being a lawyer is a lot of paperwork. I don't want to do a lot of paperwork. Now, see, this stuff that I'm doing, this will be the fun part of being a lawyer. But see, there's a whole lot of other shit you got to do when you're a lawyer that ain't on camera. I ain't trying to do that. So no law school for me, but shout out to the people who did. And so anyway, everybody, someone said you could be a trial lawyer and just go to court. All right, Tia, it sounds like you're trying to sell me on this concept of me getting into law. We'll see. It depends on what type of lawyer. Paralegals do the paperwork. All right, that's good. Good point. Paralegals do the paperwork. So I don't know. Actually, I do know. No, I'm not going to become a lawyer. I do know. I will continue to play a lawyer on social media, though, however. So I'll be you all's internet lawyer. I might just start calling myself that. Internet. I might just put that in my bio. Internet lawyer. Then people would better understand me. So what I am going to do, ladies and gentlemen, is I'm going to go live Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. I always go live Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. I will be live tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll probably just do an evergreen topic. I'm not going to do a current event because I know many of you are going to be doing your Christmas thing with your kids and your families, etc. But I will do a live. I don't know if it's going to be at 8 because my gym is going to open at 8. So I might go to the gym exactly at 8. So I might do a live later on in the morning or in the afternoon tomorrow. But I will go live at some point. I haven't decided exactly when and what the topic is going to be. I probably won't have a suit on tomorrow, so none of you is going to guess that I'm a lawyer because I'm not going to be dressed like one tomorrow. But Thursday, I'll be back at my normal schedule, which will be 8 a.m. Friday, back to the normal schedule, and then we'll be going into the new year. What New Year's Day is? What January was? What Wednesday? All right, so yeah, I'll be back normal schedule starting next week, probably except for New Year's Day because again, same thing with the 8 a.m. time. But I usually talk about current events on these lives. I'll do evergreen stuff as well. My normal, quote unquote, normal business is talking about entrepreneurship, mindset, personal development, professional development, sales, growth, and just advancement, business advancement and personal advancement. That's my normal business. And my side hustle is being a lawyer on the internet. Okay, so those are the things that I do. For those who want to know more about me, just go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. And that's that. So I need to go to the bathroom. Everybody have a great day. I will see you all tomorrow. Merry Christmas. For those of you who are not going to be here tomorrow, have a great Christmas. Hope you get all the gifts you want. Hope your kids like the stuff you got for them. I will see you all tomorrow or the next day whenever you all come in. Everybody have a great Tuesday. We out of here.